Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 22. And with me, of course, she is a legend. She is our hero, the one and only. Well, actually, there's another one, but the one that we
Right.
know, Amanda James. Hey.
Hey, thank you for that introduction. That was flattering.
It's how everyone feels. I'm just speaking for the people.
Thank you, people.
So today, we are going to add a couple of cents, from a couple of misdemeanors about this response from the government for Lorne's motion. How does that sound?
Sounds great to me.
Yeah, it's been what everyone's been talking about, and it's only been a day. And I feel like it's been everywhere. So why not talk about it again? So, right off the bat, we're just going to get right into it. So, here's the government's response. The one thing I can say that I'm disappointed right away is that they don't have his screen name next to his name.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they're
Uh,
supposed to put his known aliases, and that's the one.
that is the one. So, this may be the Lorne that we know. I'm hoping that it is. I'm hoping that there's not another Lorne Lynn Armstrong that's in the same kind of trouble.
Yeah.
But so as we know, as everyone's been talking about, Lauren's trying to get off of probation early. He's been trying to do this for years. And in fact, most famously, he had his poor defenseless defense attorney stand up during his revocation hearing and ask for it right there.
He did, and I'd have to imagine it was against his advice.
I'm sure that it was. I mean, why would he ever why would he ever want to do that? That's
Right.
insane.
It's embarrassing.
That I mean, it really is. Um, so yeah, so let's see what the government has to say if I can get this to work.
Okay,
Okay.
well, real quick, I just want to
Yeah,
point out one thing before we get started
please.
that Shin pointed out.
Mhm.
Um, Up in the right hand, on the right hand side, right up top, it says number 113 CR blah blah blah,
Mhm.
and then there are the initials JAW. According to
Mhm.
Shin, that is the judge that is presiding over this,
Yes.
and it is Judge Woodcock.
We love him
Mm-hmm.
and he's familiar with Lorne as well, so that's even better.
Yes, I think that is really great.
It is. It
Because
is
he has
great.
a history with Lorne. He's familiar with somewhat familiar with the online harassment that Lorne's claiming to receive, which was
Yeah.
a big part of the motion. So that I think that will make it even more interesting.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what Judge Woodcock has to consider. So at the beginning, it just gives the opening. The United States of America, that's us,
Hmm.
by and through its attorneys, Darcy and Andrew, submits this response to the defendant's request for early termination of supervised release. The government generally defers to the view of the U.S. Probation Office in these matters, and today it learned the position of USPO is as follows. And that makes sense, right? That they're going to be looking for the opinion of probation. They're the ones who have to deal with him.
Right, exactly. They're the ones who know him, who know they deal with him on a daily basis, of
Mm-hmm.
course.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see what their position is.
Okay.
All right. So on June 30th, 2008, the defendant was sentenced by the Honorable Thomas B. Russell, United States District Judge for the Western District of Kentucky, to 16 months of imprisonment and a lifetime of supervised release following a conviction for one count of travel in interstate commerce to engage in illicit sexual conduct. On November 5th, 2012, the defendant began his term of supervised release in the District of Maine. The District of Maine assumed jurisdiction of the case in January 11th, 2013. So we know all of that. Now we're going to jump forward to October 1st, 2019. So on October 1st, 2019, the defendant appeared before the Honorable John A. Woodcock Jr., United States District Judge, for a revocation hearing. The defendant admitted to violating 4 conditions of supervised release and was sentenced to 6 months imprisonment, to be followed by a lifetime of supervised release. So this part was something that I wasn't actually aware of. I wasn't aware that Lorne admitted to violating 4 conditions. Were you?
No, this was when he was sent back to prison
Yes.
for drinking or for failing a polygraph test about lying about how much he drinks. Is that right?
Well, what made him get arrested was the polygraph. And then because he lied and failed the polygraph, he was removed from sex offender treatment class. Mm-hmm. And in order for him to be out amongst us, he has to be in treatment.
Oh, yes, I remember. Because when he was in jail, he was trying to get his family to independently find him a sex offender treatment class so he could get out.
Yes.
Okay.
And they did, sort of. They did find other providers. And that's when we learned about the limestone testing.
Yes. And Lorne would have had to pay for that treatment class on his own, which was quite expensive, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, wasn't it something like $250 a session? Or I don't know why that's sticking out.
I want to say $300 a session.
Oh.
So yeah,
Okay.
I think it's somewhere around there. But probation didn't approve that provider, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like a Christian sex offender treatment thing.
Yes. Yep, it was. Interesting. But yeah, I wasn't aware that he admitted to violating the 4 conditions. From what I was thinking was that the judge determined that he did that. You know what I mean?
What were the 4 conditions?
I can't recall because I know that they threw out some things. Like they threw out, I think, all of the internet stuff. So I'm not entirely sure. We'd actually have to go back and look. And maybe we will.
Maybe we will. I mean, lying is one, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Drinking excessively.
Or at all for him. He wasn't allowed to drink anything.
Oh, he wasn't allowed to drink at all at that time.
Correct. Okay. Because he was drinking. Right, because he was drinking excessively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and look. Or if anybody remembers, let us know in the comments.
Definitely.
Because I don't remember all of them.
So then for him to be sentenced to 6 months imprisonment, which we all knew, and we were very disappointed. We wanted it to be 3 years. And then for it to be saying that it's followed by a lifetime of supervised release. Again, I had no idea that this was an extra lifetime of supervised release. I thought that when he got out, he was just going to continue.
Oh, yeah, I didn't realize that either. Because he already was lifetime.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so
he's double lifetime over here.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get early termination.
And I want that shit to run consecutively.
Right. In the next life, you'll still be on probation.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, interesting. I'm curious about that, what those 4 conditions were. Yeah. So then on February 5th, 2020, the defendant began his 2nd term of supervised release. So there we go.
Yeah.
It's confirming his 2nd term in the District of Maine. Since that time, the defendant has participated in sex offender treatment and began working at his own business recycling pallets. There have been no instances of noncompliance that have necessitated court notification.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Yeah, I mean, that really squeezes in a lot in just a couple of sentences of all the things that happened since his release.
Right, but nothing that had to be brought before the court.
Correct. Yeah. So I wonder if they had to make a list of all of the things that they had to do with Lorne. You know, these little infractions that he would do, these little annoyances that he would do to them. I wonder how many of those there were.
Well, I mean, if we're counting the little ones, there are many. The big ones would, I would imagine, would be like him showing up to sex offender class drunk. I mean, that happened before
Yes.
his revocation or
Hmm.
whatever. Um, but yeah, oh, the polygraphs that he's failed.
I know. I wonder how many there were.
Yeah, I don't know. We know of several.
Yes.
We know of the one that occurred in the yellow room and
When
he
his
was
head
falling
snapped up.
asleep. Yes, he was falling asleep. And when the polygrapher asked the question, it made his head snap up and it jumped his heart. That's why he
Mm.
failed the question. Do you remember what the question was?
I don't remember what the question was. And I thought that it wasn't that it jumped his heart rate to make the machine react. I thought that he really told a lie. Like it's the first thing that came out of his mouth.
Oh, yes, that's right. It was, now I remember the question. It was, have you lied about the amount you've been drinking? Because at
Yeah.
that point, either he was allowed to drink or he was busted drinking. And the way it's so convoluted, I don't even know how to explain it, how Lauren explained it, but it was something like, um, he said no, he hasn't lied to probation about the amount he's drinking, but he had in fact lied to probation, but then he admitted it to the polygrapher like right before the test.
Mm-hmm.
So no wasn't a lie because he were being honest. Like that's how he, I think that's how it went. Um,
I do remember that. Yeah, he confessed and then he still lied.
right. But he was trying to say it wasn't a lie because he had confessed.
Right, but he still
So,
lied. He still said
right.
the lie when it came down to doing the test, which is so
Exactly.
funny.
Exactly. And I don't think he was honest with the question, I'm sure, was, Did you lie to probation?" And he said no, which he did lie to probation. He just confessed to the polygrapher.
Right. Right, exactly. Whoops, whoops, whoops. We can't. It's okay. It's okay, I know. Lauren's
Cassie
very
hates
upsetting.
that. Yes.
She hates Lorne.
She's going to fight him.
Yeah, exactly. um, okay, so, and then also when it says the defendant has participated in sex offender treatment, I would love to know how many times he'd been removed from different classes and put somewhere else. I would love to know the actual reasons. You know, the legal reasons, the reasons that are in their file. Because of course, when we get a story from Lorne, it's not true. We know that.
Yeah, he said they just changed treatment providers.
Right. But what he probably needed to say was they changed treatment providers for me because I
For
wasn't
me.
doing well. I
Right.
had failed the class again. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it would be great if they said, yeah, he's participated in that, but he's failed multiple times.
They might just say that.
I might. So then let's go to the next page, maybe. Oh, yes. Let me move up. All right. I thought I was ready. Look at me. Okay. The defendant now comes before the court requesting early termination of his term of supervised release. The United States Probation Office respectfully opposes this request based on the nature and circumstances of the offense and the offender's history and characteristics. So there's a lot going up against Lorne right now.
Yeah. Um, so we talked about that the when we read the the original motion that Lawrence lawyer submitted, where he said, he can be up for early. You can terminate his probation early, even though his lifetime, based on the history and characteristics. They're arguing that the history and characteristics, you know, are in Lauren's favor and that he should be released. Probation obviously says the opposite. But what just stood out to me, because I haven't read this super carefully until right now,
Mm-hmm.
but it says the United States Probation Office respectfully opposes this request based on the nature and circumstances of the offense. I mean, obviously, the offender's history and characteristics, we could name 1,000 million things about Lauren's behavior.
Yeah.
Um, but just the nature of and circumstances of the offense in general are up against him. The fact that it's a sex crime at all, I think.
Exactly. Yes. Yep. And they do say that again.
Right.
But yes, absolutely. It's kind of like if you committed murder, and I'm not saying that you did. Okay.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah.
If you committed murder and you're sentenced to life, which of course is a normal thing you would typically expect, right? So you
Hmm.
get sentenced to life, and then as you're walking into prison, you get struck by lightning. And when that happens, you change completely as a person. You feel differently about the crime.
Hmm.
You feel total 100% remorse. You can't believe that that happened. You feel for the victim. You don't feel like a victim yourself. All of these things that are the opposite that you probably would be feeling walking in after a conviction. The anger's not there, all of that kind of stuff. And if you were to just change completely like that, the court is not going to automatically then come and say, "Oh, you're good now. You can leave." You were sentenced already. It's based on the crime
Hmm.
itself. It's not because now when you walk in, and I'm not again, I'm not going to accuse you of doing this, but going into Bible study.
Uh-huh. I wouldn't. Yeah.
I know you wouldn't, because you were really annoyed when those two other guys did it in their parole hearings. But if something like that happened, and then you were hoping to somehow get off of that, are they just going to reverse your sentence and say, "Oh yeah, you can leave now because you're a different person"? It's you have a punishment that you have to go through for what you did at a particular
Hmm.
time. The
Hmm.
same goes for Lorne as well. So, the nature and the circumstances of the offense, it's horrific. It's not something that's petty. People get involved in certain crimes at different points in life. And it's not something that you can be like, that's not great, but at least they're not an RSO. At least, it's not some of the worst things that you can imagine.
Well, that's the thing. There's no changing the nature and circumstance of the offense. Even
Exactly.
if Lauren was a straight A sex offender class student,
Hmm.
even if he did perfectly on probation, did everything he was supposed to do, never bumped up against any guardrails,
Hmm.
it, that still wouldn't change the nature of the offense and the need to be to be supervised for
Right.
that. He's a threat. He's proven by committing that crime that he is a threat to the community.
Exactly. Because when he wasn't monitored, that's what he did.
Right.
Yeah. And you had mentioned last time too that if he truly believed that what he did was as horrific as we all believe that it is, then he would understand the sentence. He would
Hmm.
understand what he has to go through now for the rest of his life because what he did is that bad.
I mean, I think so. Yeah. If he truly felt remorse and took responsibility, then he would feel like he deserves
Yeah.
to be on supervision for the rest of his life and on the
They are so.
registry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we not only do we have that, but we also have the offender's history. He does.
Right.
He doesn't have a good one.
No, he really doesn't. It's just like when he said, I've never been in trouble before except for an OUI. So you have been in trouble before.
True. Yeah.
And on this, he's saying, the only thing I've done wrong is gone back to prison for 6 months and, failed a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of polygraphs. And, right. That's not like, yes, there are people who do worse, but that doesn't mean, it's not like if you're on probation, you're expected to get some fuck ups and they're just going to let them slide.
Mm-hmm.
You're expected to be a normal person and not break the law, not break the terms of your probation.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
another, all I had, it's just an OUI. That's the only thing. I have nothing on my record except an OUI. Okay, then you have a record.
Yes. Right. Right. It's like when he had his first round of breathalyzer tests that he had to take. This was before he was being spoken to by catfish.
Hmm.
But he had the breathalyzer, and one of the very first ones. Well, it was a first miss, I should say. I don't know how far into that requirement he was in, but he did a miss. And the reason he did it was not because he was sleeping, like he told his probation officer, but it was because he was drunk.
Right.
So he couldn't take
Go
it.
figure.
Right.
Hmm.
So then what he did was he went to bed, or it was, hours later. And I think the probation officer had called him and was basically like, you have to take this test.
Hmm.
And so he made up his lie and said that he was sleeping because it's a text. He gets a text
Right.
when he has to do it, and it's just random. But I don't think it's at any unreasonable time. I don't think they're doing that at 12:30 at night, type of a
Hmm.
thing. Um, so he takes the test, and of course, he's over the limit.
Hmm. Still, yeah.
Still, yeah, still at that time. But I think what his expectation was that she was going to let it slide.
Hmm.
That she was going to say, "Oh, okay, we'll get you next time. You don't have to do it right now." It's like the first miss. He feels like, well, that's fine because I'm sure everybody does that, or a lot of people
Right.
do. You know, um, so he's expecting that to just be, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, he's really bad about bumping up against guardrails. He just does it, whether he's actually driving or it's with probation and following rules.
And he always has an excuse, whether it's literally bumping up against a guardrail
Yeah.
or messing up with probation. I mean, remember when he literally hit the guardrail, it
Mm-hmm.
was because Winnie had kept him up all night the night before and he was so fucking tired.
Uh-huh.
And with probation, there's always an excuse why he's not really to blame. Um, for example, when he went to treatment class drunk, when he was being questioned about it, he immediately said, "Oh, that was because of Ramona. I was so stressed out. She had stressed me out. And, so I had a couple beers." And then it was pointed out to him that he wasn't even speaking to Ramona at the time. So he said, "Oh, well, something stressed me out."
Right. Right.
Or
It was
maybe
it
he
was
just
something.
wanted to get drunk.
Well, that's exactly it. And I think, again, it's one of those situations where, well, I'm not going to get in trouble for my first miss.
Hmm.
So he probably hadn't missed any classes. And then this time was like, "Oh, I can get out of here. I don't want to go today. I want to go drink." And so that's what he did. And then he was mad that they didn't believe his story and that they were forcing him to come in.
I know. It's probation. It is the government, and there's a risk of going to jail, going back to prison. This isn't high school where
No.
like you skip your detention and your teacher's gonna give you another one or something. Like
Mhm.
there's not, maybe suspend you this time. This is prison or freedom.
Right. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, he's still in the class. He didn't get expelled. Well,
Well,
treatment anyway. He's
yeah.
still in treatment. Yeah. But that is a really funny story of him showing up. And then he said fruit juice. He's such a liar. Like, that is such a funny lie.
We're eating fruit. We're eating a lot of fruit today. That's the funniest part about the whole thing. That's what you came up with, Lorne?
I know.
Fruit? You're eating rotten fruit? And it made you
Yeah.
what alcohol level? It made you smell like Bud Light.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You didn't know that they make Bud Light out of fruit?
I didn't know that,
Okay.
but next time my strawberries are a little too ripe, I'm gonna be careful. I might get
Right.
shit faced. You know what though? That he did get off easy with that because he drove to class.
He did, yeah.
They
And they knew that too.
well, they could have breathalyzed him then and there and
Yeah.
arrested him for driving.
Yeah.
They
And
let him
I
drive home.
they did. And I know that the provider did mention that, and she said that was against her better judgment.
So he should be great. He's lucky.
Yeah.
He's lucky that she had bad judgment in that
Yeah.
case.
The most ideal situation wouldn't have been to like hold him there and say you've got to call somebody and come and get you. They should have let him go out to his car, put the keys in the ignition because that's all that it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And then arrest him. You're whoop whoop
Yeah.
in back of him.
Yes, they really should have.
Yeah.
Especially for fucking having the nerve to show up to class drunk and then lying to her face.
I know. It's a constant lie.
I mean, there several violations right there. Lying to the treatment provider,
Mhm.
drinking, coming to the class under the influence, driving under the influence to get there. He's crazy.
I know. But wait a second though. He did wait an hour for each beer.
But it's a little over an hour for each beer. He didn't realize
He
that. So
realizes that now.
he again was just a few sips over the limit at the
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
A few sips, that's all.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Because that's what he said about his OUI as well.
Hmm.
And he's drunk. When Lorne is drunk, it's obvious.
Yes.
You know, you can't see him at the time, but you can tell he's unsteady. He
Hmm.
just sounds like it. He sounds so intoxicated that there's no way that he's, standing up and um, not swaying
Hmm.
as he's talking and trying not to mess up the words that he says.
Yeah, and he's a mush mouth mini syllable anyway.
Yes.
Mini syllabler anyway, even when he's sober. So when he has any booze in him, it's really exacerbated.
Yep. Yep, exactly. I know.
And she said he smelled like beer.
Of course.
This
Of
motherfucker's not
course.
even gonna like take a shower or brush his teeth. I
Oh,
mean,
come on now.
well, I know, but eat
Why
a piece
start
of
now?
charmin, right? Well, I mean, like
Yeah.
I said, that might be something you want to hide a little better if your freedom is on the line.
That is true. He should have dunked his head first
He should have. He should have drank
before.
some coffee.
Right.
He
When
would have
she
been
said,
fine.
yeah, when she said, "Have you been drinking today?" and he could say, "Coffee, drinking
Have you drinking
coffee."
coffee? Yeah,
Oh
I
my
would shut her
gosh.
right up.
It sure would.
Like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. That's right. That's an antidote to. And when
Yeah.
he said he drank 3 beers, that means he drank 6 beers.
Yeah, he had a six pack.
You
Exactly.
know he did.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. He was just really anticipating they were going to let it slide that day
Hmm.
and not make him go. Yeah. Good job, Lauren. So let's talk about the offense as if we don't know. The instant offense of this case involves interstate travel to engage in sexual conduct with a minor, who the defendant believed to be 13 years of age. The defendant began an online chat relationship with a presumed 13-year-old who was in fact a decoy for approximately 1 month before the offense. In that month, the defendant's chat log grew to over 400 pages. Additionally, the chats included the defendant teaching the decoy to masturbate, transmitting photos of his genitals, and describing in detail sexual acts he wished to perform with the decoy. And it should have been, comma, like when he said that he was going to perform oral sex on her while she was cooking.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, put one of the really stupid ones in there.
Or
Just
he
for.
wanted to count her pubic hairs.
Mm-hmm. Or he wanted to sit in the bath, but she had
hold on
to,
to his
yeah.
pants.
And he
Yeah.
had to hold on to her butt too because it was the only way they were going to fit.
That's the only way. Right.
Yes. The defendant also encouraged the decoy to delete evidence of their chats. Finally, the defendant traveled over 60 miles to meet the decoy in person.
That paragraph could have been much longer. Like you
Mm-hmm.
were just saying, there could have been I mean, that's a nice little summary, but they hit the important parts.
They did.
The
Yes.
graphic photos, the graphic descriptions of what he wanted to do to her, and the fact that he encouraged her to delete the evidence, to hide
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yep.
Um,
Exactly.
you
And
would think he would never want to bring this kind of stuff up. It's like he forgets that that's why he's on probation.
you know what, though? I'm wondering if he thinks that all they're going to talk about is like the law part. They're not going to go into this stuff. This is old news.
Mm.
They're going to talk about what's happening present day. They're going to talk about his probation, not the reason why he's on probation.
No, it said the nature and circumstance of the offense plays a huge part in, you know, them even considering him for early termination. And you think his defense lawyer would have told him that?
Well, first of all, it could be that he did.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
The thing that I think defense attorneys are up against a lot is that they're dealing with criminals. This is
Hmm.
who they're not defending in the sense that I think some people think about, in that they're just as bad as the defendant, but they're having to make sure that their rights are preserved
Right.
through the whole
Yeah.
process. So, I mean, essentially, and we talked about this last time too, Lorne is the one who's doing all of this. His attorney is just helping him facilitate, so that he could serve as counsel. So he's the one who's going to determine the case law that they're going to attach. And he's going to be the one that's going to draft the argument itself, no matter how strong or weak that happens to be.
Right. And I used to think the same thing, to be honest. Like, who would defend these people?
Mm-hmm.
These horrible, violent people, people who hurt children? Who would defend them? But of course, it's their job to make sure the system is operating the way it's supposed to.
Correct.
And I understand that. But yeah, you're right. Lorne is calling the shots here.
Yeah.
The
And I mean,
lawyer's just the one writing it up.
right. And so we saw a little bit of that in the emails that he exchanged with the lawyer that he was actually paying.
Hmm.
Because that lawyer was supposed to be doing this, isn't that correct?
That lawyer, Lorne hired that lawyer to get him out of treatment class, I thought.
Okay. Okay. So slightly different,
Hmm.
but also related. Um, oh gosh. Hang on.
Little
Come here.
grumbly,
Come here. You stay over here. It's safe over here. Okay.
grumbly.
I know. Um, so looking at those emails that he was exchanging with him, the lawyer was telling him certain things, certain truths, if you
Hmm.
will. And Lorne just disregarded them.
Yeah, he did.
It wasn't what he wanted to hear. So I would imagine that the communication between his defense attorneys here is very much the same, you know. And we know that too when we take a look at his plea agreement and the letter that was sent prior to the plea agreement. They're telling him everything that he needs to know. They have to do that,
Hmm.
you know, but they also can't make the decisions for them as far as how they want to move forward. Like it was Lorne's right, even though it was stupid of him to do, it was his right to file that motion. So that's what he
Yeah.
did,
Hmm.
you know? So here we are again, having to talk about the offense. And I would love to see Lorne's face just either reading this, because who knows
Yeah.
how much he actually reads,
Hmm.
but to know what this actually said. So if he talked to his attorney and his attorney was summing it up, I wonder, Lauren, I would love to see just Lauren's face, you know, because
Well,
he would
yes.
hate it so much that they're talking about this. And I think you know, like we said, that it sums it up really well, and it hits the really important parts of his chat log.
Hmm.
Teaching her how to masturbate. That's a massive thing.
Hmm.
And they put that first. You know, even before, you know, transmitting photos, describing in detail the sexual acts, you know, he was doing this. He's guilty of that. And then also, of course, having her delete the evidence of their chats. So that
Yeah.
adds another layer onto it.
Well, and of course, he would say he was having her delete the evidence because he didn't want her to get in trouble.
With who?
That wasn't his, with her parents. He
With her
wouldn't want her to,
parents.
yeah. So, of course, that wasn't to save his own skin.
Of
Um,
course, yeah.
but he can't argue the rest of it, teaching her to masturbate. Did she beg him for that? Because he said he only talked sexually to her because she wanted it. Really?
Right. Yeah.
She wanted that, especially if you read through the chat log. She was clearly uncomfortable. She even told him, "No, I don't want to do that."
She did, yeah. Yeah, she definitely did.
Those are things he can't argue away. They're the facts of the case.
Right, right. He's crazy. Um,
Hungry.
okay, he's getting down. Okay. Um, so then, then let's see what else it says. Throughout his time on supervision, the defendant has participated in the sex offender treatment program, though he's failed to complete the program. The defendant's conduct, at times, was so disruptive to the group that he was removed in favor of individual treatment. Examples of this disruptive conduct include covertly transmitting the audio from the group meeting via an open phone line, arriving to the group under the influence of alcohol, and failing multiple maintenance polygraph exams, later making accurate disclosures, and admitting to having been deceptive when answering the polygraph questions. Whew, that is
Again,
loaded.
right. It summarizes it all nicely, but he's so lucky they didn't go into more detail. Like the part about him covertly transmitting the audio from the group is huge.
It
That is
is.
a huge breach of contract. There is a very strict rule that you cannot share information. That class is confidential, and he told Casey, I mean, he's told several catfish, but most recently Casey, that you can be put back in prison just for disclosing things that you learned in the class, talking about
Mm-hmm.
your classmates. That is huge right there. Um, Coming to class drunk, obviously, but again, that's the thing. They can say, well, that's because he had a problem with alcohol. Good people have substance abuse issues, and
Right.
he was so whatever. Um, but what was I just? Oh, and failing the polygraph exams, they don't go into what questions he failed. That's the big thing. He failed really big questions. He failed questions about drinking, of course, and being dishonest with probation, but he also failed questions about minors, about
Right.
fantasizing about minors, seeking out media to use as masturbation material, basically,
Yeah.
which he admitted to fantasizing about the girls from high school, the Little House on the Prairie girl, the 9-year-old girl. Those are huge things
Yeah.
in a sex offender's um, file.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't know how large this was supposed to be.
Hmm.
I don't know if this is typical for a type of response, and then they're going to be able to produce that evidence should they be asked to.
Right. I guess they didn't really need to go into minute detail
Hmm.
in this. They, is enough to just sum it up. But yeah, they, of course, they could go into more detail if they're asked to.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, it's pretty damning, though.
Hmm.
There's so much in here, and it just like you said, transmitting the audio from the group. It's interesting that he did that because he does mention that often, and that statement that he makes about the other people in the class not being able to talk about it or reveal things is always said when he's talking about how he's talked about his girlfriend to the class.
Right.
That's when it's always said, like, oh no, it's fine, you're going to be safe. They're not going to be able to do anything because they're not allowed to talk about it with anybody,
Hmm.
and if they do, they can go back to prison. But here he is in a class with his phone.
That just shows his, and the fact that it was a catfish that he was um, sharing that audio with after knowing that he had been recorded by that person and the people associated with that person for
Mm-hmm.
years.
Right.
Because that was Winnie stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There were a million times he knew that Winnie and Emma were recording him and fucking with him, and he still chose to allow her to listen. And that shows his very poor decision making skills,
Mm-hmm.
especially because I'm sure he had been warned against talking to Winnie. And actually, I know he had. He had said many, many times how probation was telling him to stop talking to Emma. Stop talking to Emma and Dan. Don't trust them.
Yeah.
They put you online already, dummy. A million times. Stop it. And he went against their advice, their strong advice, I'm sure,
Mm-hmm.
and still talked to Winnie and let her listen into the confidential treatment class. That's not somebody who should be off supervision.
No, absolutely not. No. No, and they make a statement in here as well that I think goes along with that. So we'll get there.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, the failing multiple maintenance polygraph exams,
Hmm.
multiple. And then what the best part of that though is where they continue and say later making accurate disclosures than admitting to having been deceptive when answering the questions.
Right. So it shows that the polygraphs were accurate.
Exactly. Exactly. Hang on one. The probation office acknowledges the harassment the defendant has been subjected to at the hands of many online groups. That's us. That's our shout out. It is of note, however, that the defendant has at times willfully engaged members of these groups, including offering to sell autographed items and giving interviews. The defendant has been cautioned multiple times over the course of several years to cease engaging these requests and only very recently has begun to do so.
So they only there it seems here they're only talking about um Lorne interacting with people who want interviews and blah blah blah, but they didn't bring up the catfishing. who are part of those online groups. It's been proven to him that they're part, like Ramona, for example, when they told him about how she had been recording and live streaming to these groups who harass him, he continued to talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just about, answering YouTube comments and agreeing to do interviews or autographs or sell his garbage like he's a celebrity. He spent years talking to these people, having intimate relationships with these people,
Right.
sending nude images. That's another thing they left out. And
Mm-hmm.
I understand they don't need to go into every detail. I wish they did.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, that's something that I think should have been included, is that he has spent years having romantic relationships over the phone with people whose ages can't be verified. He's been busted sending dick pics a million times. Again, to people whose ages can't be verified. That all ties back to his original crime. It's a huge problem.
Yeah, and I would say that the catfishing has done the most damage as far as Lorne and his probation. I mean, because he was taken off of the internet
Mm-hmm.
pretty early on because of the reason that he was spending too much time on it, spending too much time on YouTube. So he was removed from that. So that was going to take that out of the equation. But then he started having his relationships.
Yeah.
And that's way more damaging for him to be on the phone and screaming and yelling and being drunk and drunk driving and making the admissions that he's made.
Oh yeah. He gave probation everything they need in these recorded conversations where he knew there was a very good chance he was being recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, how often would he accuse, "What are you recording me? What are you working for Xavier?" He
Yeah,
knew it.
anytime he would get upset or he would feel that maybe I don't know, that he was feeling especially sensitive at that time.
Mhm.
Maybe the veil slipped a little bit for
Mhm.
him so that the charade that he very well knows he's playing along with isn't so much fun at the moment because you know
Right.
what? No one's answering his call.
That's what it was. It's when he felt left out, like he
Mm-hmm.
was feeling left behind.
Yeah,
But think of how many times he has fought with probation over
I
the
know.
validity of these women.
Yeah.
They're real. You can't tell me they're not. That beautiful porn star, the 25-year-old that I have the posters of, she's really my fiance.
Yeah.
You don't think that's the first beautiful woman I've ever dated, do
Oh
you?
my God.
Casey Morrow. This time it's the real Casey,
Of course.
the real one. And I'm not going to blame her for something I did. She was just an actress. I mean, if Casey was just an actress, this is totally off topic, but if Casey was just an actress, then Chris Hansen was just a reporter.
That is true.
I mean, like everybody was involved. Everybody knew what they were doing. Everybody had the goal to catch pedophiles.
Yeah. Yeah, the end goal was to get them to be arrested.
Right. Casey gets a pass because she's hot.
He was way into her.
Well, and he created the story in his mind that maybe she regretted it, like that sheriff did. Maybe, especially since that assistant district attorney killed himself, Casey probably
Yeah.
really regretted being a part of that. And
Yeah.
she was going to be on his side.
Yeah, that's got to be it. That's got to be it. She saw something different in him. I
Hmm.
remember him saying that Tony and Wendy said that. That there was something special between Lorne and
Oh
Casey
my God.
at the house.
Okay,
So,
first of all, they did not. They did
but what if
not.
they did?
I refuse to. Well, if they did, then they were fucking with him.
They were, of course they were. Of
Like,
course
oh
they
yeah, Lauren,
were.
we could see the sparks fly when you.
Yeah.
She,
Yeah.
you could tell she wanted to come over and give you a kiss.
I know.
She was about to. He's such a liar. They did not fucking say that.
I know. Yeah. I don't believe it either. And I also agree that if it did, then they were messing with him. Just like Tony would say, "Get on the ground, get down" to Lorne. Could you imagine that? Would
I
you be friends with somebody? And I know that friend is a very loose term, but
mhm.
would you associate with someone who made fun of you for the worst night of your life?
Well, no, certainly I wouldn't. But who else does Lauren have?
Well, sure, exactly. That's
Alton?
why, I guess.
But Alton even like tried to put Lauren straight. Lauren was talking about what good friends they are, and Alton's like, "We're acquaintances who drink together sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get it. Don't get too excited."
Yeah. And I think they were family acquaintances. Like their moms used to hang out or something.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Tony, Tony and Wendy. But you're right, though, about it probably being a lie.
Well, because Lauren uses Tony in all his lies.
He really does.
Think about his lies about his one night stands. Oh, I met her at Tony's house.
And the one
Uh,
night stand happened at Tony's house.
Everything happened at Tony's house. He put his toe inside a woman at Tony's house. He met Jenny, who works at Walmart. He met her through Tony, and
Well, yeah.
he
He was.
couldn't call her. Tony had to set up the date. That's how they.
Yes.
Tony was his matchmaker, which is absolutely ridiculous. This is a like 50-year-old fucking man at this time.
Well, sure, absolutely. And it's even funnier the fact that Tony was the only one that had her phone number. And of course,
Yeah,
that's how it had to be, right? Because he was being called out on it being fake. And
I
they were like,
know.
"Oh, get her on the phone, call her up right now and cancel the date." And he had no idea what to do. And so he had to just double down and keep going with the story. It's just like Dump Truck Man in the Christmas Tree. It
It
keeps getting worse, but it keeps getting
yes,
funnier.
I know, but it's such a dumb lie. Oh, Tony has to call her. Why not? Why not just say no? I'm not fucking calling her on three-way. I'm not doing that. I'm not playing these childish games. I'm not doing that. He can't do that, of course, because
No.
he is very childish.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that he's above. But instead of just saying no, I refuse, I'm not going to call her. I'll call her privately. He had to make up that stupid lie about Tony.
I know.
But Ramona got him. She's like, okay, call Tony on three-way and ask for her number, or call Tony and talk to him about her. Call Tony and ask for her number. Call Tony and say something about your date with Jen from Walmart. And of course, he couldn't do that either.
Of course not. Oh, that's so great.
So funny.
And he does the same thing on these polygraph tests. He can't just come out with it.
Or come up with a convincing lie.
I know.
They're so bad.
I know. They're really great though. So yeah, so I mean this basically just summarizes, the dealings with the internet
Hmm.
and the Church of God, bunch of fucking idiots.
And again, like we said in the beginning, Judge Woodcock is familiar with
Yes. Oh
with
yeah,
the Church of
definitely.
God.
I believe that in his revocation hearing, because they did talk about actually Winnie, I think,
Oh,
where I believe that they talked about the photo.
yes. Hmm.
Yeah.
That
Um,
turned out to be the young girl in the UK or whatever. Yeah.
correct. Yeah. It was
Mhm.
somebody that they were able to Google the image and
Right.
it came right up. Um, but even then he doesn't listen. And he continues that fight and he's so against authority. He has such an aversion to authority in any type of direction like
Hmm.
that he's going to fight against it no matter what it is. It's just like when he started smoking again after prison, like an idiot.
Yeah.
And his reason for doing that, he even said, was because they couldn't tell him that he couldn't.
Do you really think that's why, or is he just, a weak person who wants to smoke?
Well, I think that certainly anytime he says that he's quitting, it's not because he wants to. He's just saying it. He's never quit. It's like in that call with Jamie and Casey on the Zoom call. Those cigarettes weren't sitting there because they were left behind and he's had them for a week and hasn't touched them. They were there because he's actively smoking.
Because he was smoking. It was an
Yeah.
open pack with a lighter right next to it, with an ashtray right next to it.
Exactly. Exactly. So anytime he's been saying that he's quitting, all the way back to Kayla, he was saying that he was going to quit smoking.
Hmm.
Every single person that he talks to, he's going to quit smoking. And he doesn't have any interest in doing that at all.
No, because he doesn't want to quit for himself. He doesn't care that it's, bad for him, or it makes him smell bad. It's
Mhm.
unattractive. It, fucks his teeth up. He doesn't care about any of those reasons.
Right.
He, would only do it if it got him closer to getting a girlfriend.
Oh,
If he was
definitely,
forced
yeah.
to do it by a woman.
Yeah, it's I would do anything for you.
Hmm.
And if they don't smoke, and he's never been with a smoker. I think maybe Winnie was the closest thing, but everyone else was a non smoker. So, of
Hmm.
course, that's going to be something that's important to them. Being a non
Right.
smoker, I don't really want to be with somebody who smokes all the time. And the funny thing about him smoking, too, is that he's not actually smoking, he just holds the cigarette. It's such a waste.
Just holds the long, cheap old lady cigarette and lets
Yeah,
them burn.
he really does. It's just, I don't know, that just must be, just it's a habit, of course,
It's, when he got out of prison, even though he had no physical cravings for cigarettes, because,
Sure.
he was through all that, he would have to, he would have the temptation of picking the habit back up,
Mm-hmm.
especially if he's around other smokers or whatever. And Lorne, I think it's you who said this, the only person Lorne can't say no to is himself.
Oh, that was Ember.
Oh, okay.
That's
Well,
a, that. Yeah, it's very true.
it's very true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so he doesn't have the strength of character to resist even the smallest temptation. If he wants something, he's gonna do it.
Yeah.
Just like he had to go to sex offender class, but he wanted a beer, so
Yeah.
he was gonna do it. Fuck the
Right.
fuck the consequences.
Well, not only fuck the consequences, but I'm not going to get caught.
Well, and I can just cry my way out of it afterwards.
Yeah, I know. Could you imagine that conversation that happened after when he went up to her again and confessed?
Yeah, he probably cried.
He had his head down to his chin down to his chest.
Yeah, mumbling.
I just
I
had a
was
couple of
gonna
beers.
tell you. I was gonna tell you. Yeah, I did. Had a couple of beers.
I weren't drunk.
God, he's an idiot.
I know. I know. So I wonder, how many times they've had to have this conversation about, you know, people that he's talking to, and like what their reaction is every single time that somebody new is brought up.
I I think they've had a million conversations. The number of catfish, at
Yeah.
least that many times.
Yeah.
Probably more, because they talked to him about Ramona. And then they had to talk to him again when they found out he was still talking to her after they showed
Mm-hmm.
him that she was recording him and lying, and her real name wasn't even Ramona.
Mm-hmm.
So multiple conversations just for Ramona, multiple for Winnie. We know there were multiple for Jamie because they made him throw away her posters and change his number.
uh,
They made him change his number.
oh my God.
Yeah, and they talked to him about Casey. His lawyer talked to him about Casey. His class talked to him about Casey. They all told him stop talking to her.
Mm-hmm.
And probation, said she's going to need to prove that she's real. Because remember, Lauren asked for permission to go see Casey out in California.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, the plane ticket.
Yes. Yeah. So they wanted Casey to contact them with her social security number, like
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff. And of course, she didn't. She could not. She is not the real Casey. And he still talked to her. And I'm sure they said that to him too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure.
And he fought them about every single one of these catfish.
So when it says here that they had been talking to him over several years and only very recently began to stop being in contact with people from the internet, how
Mhm.
recent do you think that is when they say that?
I don't know. I was wondering about that too. Recently, like Casey recently,
Mm-hmm.
or more recently than that?
Yeah.
And would probation count the Canadians as people from the internet? Which they are people from the internet, but they also went to Lawrence trailer and proved that they're at least real people. Their identities are
True.
who they say they are.
True. I don't know. I think that probation would have to consider them people from the internet. They would have
Hmm.
to because that's where they came from. He didn't meet them just out and about or through family and friends.
Right.
It was based on his presence on the internet that is um, happening because we're here talking about it.
Right.
you know.
I wish they had been more clear, more detailed in that. That's
Yeah.
what we want to know, probation. What's going on?
What's going on? Is he getting catfished? Yeah. Yeah,
I'm gonna
definitely.
befriend Mitchell Oswald. I'm gonna try to befriend him and see if I could get the dirt out of him. You
That would be
know?
great. And you know what? I'm going to befriend Bryce because Lorne hates Bryce. And also, he was the one, I believe, who asked Lorne if his quote unquote girlfriend knew that she was his girlfriend and he got mad.
That's true.
Yeah, I would really love that.
But
Because Bryce was there from the beginning too, and he's been there throughout, like with
yeah.
Maria and all the others. Mitchell did go away, but he would be a good one too because number one, I think that he bought Nathaniel's book.
Oh my God. I love him already. He's the like senior probation officer, right? He's like the top dog, I think. I think that's what he told Kate, what Lauren told Casey.
That Mitchell is.
Yeah.
He could be now, but maybe a couple of years ago he wasn't yet because I thought Bryce used to be or he was like the boss. He was their boss.
Well, Mitchell's also adorable. If he's the one because I Googled Mitchell Oswald
Uh huh.
in whatever, Maine, and the one that came up is he has great hair. And Lauren had mentioned that he had gay hair. I don't think it's gay hair. I think it's cute hair.
It's
So if
cute
that is,
hair. Yeah.
yeah, if that is the real Mitchell, then I want to be his friend.
Well, there you go.
And Mitchell, if you're listening,
yes. Hey, Mitchell.
let's talk. Let's talk
Yeah,
about
absolutely. We have many questions.
it.
Many,
I
many
wish that would be
questions.
amazing.
We can give you even a voice changer if you want.
Yeah, total anonymity. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. You're
Everything off the record.
everything off the record. We're just going to share with a few of our closest friends.
Right. We won't tell them it came from you, though. It'll be from a trusted source.
Yes, an inside source, just like TMZ always says.
Hmm. And everyone will believe me because I am pretty legendary. So, no real
you
question.
absolutely are. You're the Amanda James that we know. We know that you're real.
You
So
know how
we believe
often people ask if I'm the real Amanda Jane?
that. I love that. I love that.
Oh,
I get asked if my name comes from Resident Evil
oh,
because
really?
there's a character in there that has the name that's similar, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I've
I mean, I
never
know
heard of
it's a
that.
game and everything, but I've never seen it. I've never played it. I don't even know what. It's just a
Hmm.
coincidence. Yeah, it's really funny. But to us, though, you are Amanda James. Yeah.
Well, I wish the real Amanda James, the original one, would come forward because I'm sure she's got lots of funny stories to
I do
tell.
too. I do too. And though I just get flooded with these memories of hearing about that story. But the fact that she told him that her messenger didn't work and they could only email. There's
It
no
was,
phone conversations. There's nothing. He has to resort to email.
and he's an idiot, and he didn't question that for a minute.
I know. Why would her messenger be broken?
It
I
was
mean,
it was broken.
yeah.
It was broken.
The
She had
only
to pay
right.
the repairman to fix it.
Yeah, her computer wasn't broken because she could email.
Right. No, just the messenger.
Just the messenger.
And
Yeah.
that's the only way to communicate. There's no such thing, like you said, as phone calls or texting.
Yeah. I bet
Didn't he
you.
say? Oh,
Go,
sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, didn't he say he hacked? Oh, he did. He said he hacked her email.
Bono, you too.
Right. And found like naked pictures of men in there.
He sure did. Yeah.
I, I don't know. Do you think that's, first of all, he's not smart enough to hack. That's not hacking. That's guessing a password, by the way.
It's guessing a
Um,
password and also a very oddly specific password. I mean, because I know that what his password at that time was printer. But at the
mhm.
same time, are you going to automatically just be like, oh, they're stupid. Their password's going to be printer or password or something like that?
Mhm.
I don't think that that's necessarily the first thing that someone is going to think about. I know it's not impossible to figure out people's passwords. It happens, you know.
Mhm.
But I think if you're just a regular person, you're not using advanced technology, and you're not, a hacker by trade. You're Lorne Armstrong. Think
Yeah.
about how you would be able to come up with the exact sequence of letters and numbers, whether they're capital or
Right.
lowercase. It's you would just have to go through so many, and it
Mhm.
doesn't let you do that. Eventually, it's gonna lock you out. So
Right.
I do think that it's bullshit.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure where that story comes from about him seeing the naked photos of the men and the emails and things like that. Unless, and I don't see her doing this either, unless she shared.
Her password.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah, I think it's likely just made up.
Okay.
Just another story to show what a victim Lauren was
Yeah.
of Amanda James. She was cheating on me. She lied to me about her name and her niece and her daughter.
He didn't date anybody for 2 years because of
2 years.
you.
Yeah, all because of me, right?
Oh my goodness. So anyway, let's get back to
Yeah.
um so to continue. The probation officer's administrative office favors early termination only when specific criteria are met. The defendant fails to meet several of those criteria. First, he committed a sex offense. Well, there you go.
Yeah. That's what I that really stood out to me.
Me
Um,
too.
so it looks to me like that criteria alone excludes him from being eligible for early termination, right?
Right. Yep.
So even if he had no run-ins with the court, even if he had been honest with probation, no drink, even if he had followed all the conditions perfectly, he still committed a sex crime.
Right. Yeah. So it
So
goes back to where they say that the nature of the offense.
right, exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. Boom. We're not gonna oh, what's the word? Agree or suggest early termination because of this fact pretty much alone,
Right.
but they have more stuff to back it up, but it seems like that would be enough in and of itself.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then, second, the defendant, given his previous revocation in the treatment noncompliance described above, does not show an ability to lawfully self manage beyond the period of supervision. Finally, the defendant has not remained in substantial compliance with all conditions of his supervision. So, remember, I said they're going to mention this again?
Mm-hmm.
Here it is exactly that he doesn't show an ability to lawfully self manage. He can't do
Yeah.
it.
No, definitely not. He can't even do it under supervision with the threat of going back to prison over his head.
Right. Yeah. How many times did he drink?
Right.
And then he would have his probation modified. He would sign it. And then he'd
Uh-huh.
go and do it again.
Hmm. And that's not even mentioning all the times he's driven drunk. He was
I
never
know.
busted for that by
Gosh.
probation.
Yeah. I
So
really wish that he would have been busted. That is so
mhm.
irritating to me that he didn't after all those times that he was doing it and they were aware that he was doing it. The sheriff's department was aware that he was doing it, but
And the evidence is there. It's
yeah.
on YouTube for anyone who cares to go back and listen
Yeah.
to him admitting to Ramona, I fucking drove drunk and I already had an 18 pack. Boom.
Mhm.
Right there. I mean, and that's just one example. There's many.
Yeah,
The
and I
time when
don't
he lied and said that Silent Rick from Sex Offender Class
oh,
came to pick him up.
oh my god. Wasn't it so funny how he interacted with that person?
Yes. Yo,
Okay,
let's
let's
go.
go.
Rick don't have to talk. He don't talk. He don't talk to people.
Oh my god. That was really funny.
Yeah. First clue, Lauren, you don't have any friends who are going to come pick you up in the middle of the night for anything ever. No
Yeah.
friends. But his world is so small, he had to make up a person from his sex offender class.
You know what's so weird though about that Rick is that he brings him up other times as well. In fact, when he was in AA, he wanted this Rick to be his sponsor.
Oh. So then my guess would be this pedo Rick or sex offender Rick here was, um, marginally friendly with Lorne. Or
Hmm.
just not, just maybe normal, just polite, just like a normal interaction. And Lorne took that as like, we're best friends.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he kind of joked around with him a little bit.
Right.
Didn't
Well,
look at him like he's a big idiot like everyone else probably
yeah.
did.
Because you see how he clings on to people. Tony's my best friend. Where? In
Hmm.
what world is Tony your best friend?
Well, it's the person that he sees most often. So that's his
Right.
best
And
friend.
they hated each other.
I know, they did.
Tony thought Lorne was a piece of shit, just wanted the
Hmm.
beer and whoopie pies.
Yeah.
Lorne cried because Tony didn't, hug and kiss him and tell him how much he loved him every day. And
Yeah.
him and Alton are best friends, lifelong friends. And
Hmm.
Alton's like, no.
We may have known each other that like we knew who we were for a long
Mhm.
time. It's like the people that you remember from elementary school. You know who they are, but are they your friends? No.
Right. Knowing somebody doesn't mean you're besties. I mean,
Exactly.
Emma was his best friend.
I know. And that's so crazy because Emma burned him so badly so many times. And
Hmm.
I wonder how many times she went back and forth to being his confidant and being the villain. I wonder how many
Countless.
times that was. I know.
Yeah, all the time. And then all she would have to do is make up some excuse, oh, I was on drugs, Lauren. I'm not like that anymore.
Right.
It'd be so easy to pull him back in, or just to be close to somebody he wanted to be close to. She
Mhm.
befriended Casey and Lauren wanted Casey, so he had to keep Emma on his side
Right. Yeah,
to
that's
keep
true.
tab.
Yeah. Yeah, right, because there's no one else to.
Silent Rick.
Yeah, but it is very strange how often he brings up that name. So the next part is probably one of my favorite parts of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it says the clinician assigned to the defendant, Julie, has been consulted on this matter and joins the probation office in opposition to the request.
No, Julie understands him. Julie knows.
What does she do? She hits it right on the head.
Right on the head. And he's never trusted anybody like he trusts Julie.
Absolutely not. But you know what? This was such. It was like such an overwhelming happiness that I had when I saw this. And I was like, oh my God, that is such a kick right in the balls for Lorne.
Mm-hmm.
Such a kick. It would be the same thing if Allie said the same. And we know that she did. I would love to
Yeah.
see Allie's files as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he holds her to such a high regard, and I'm sure that he did with Julie too, because didn't you say that you saw that she's a blonde? And that's, of course, something that Lorne likes, and he likes to talk to women.
She's a pretty, right. She's a pretty, like, young blonde woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Who is gentle with Lorne, it seems from his description of their
Right.
relations.
Right. So when I first read this is what came to mind. This is a scene from Goodfellas. So I'm going to show it to you right now, okay?
Oh, good.
They say $4 million. The city cops say 5. Your cops say I can promise to break their silence soon with a press conference. No, son of a bitch! Will be there to cover.
So that's what I thought about.
That's your reaction.
That was my reaction. I was like, Julie, you son of a bitch. So everyone, the next time that you're in the shower, give Julie a shout out. She deserves it. She deserves it. That giant round of applause.
I do wish we could have gotten a few of her thoughts in here.
I know. Well, what I'm thinking is if it happens to go to a hearing, that's maybe what's going to happen.
That would be great.
Maybe because they're going to go into more in depth, you know, and possibly if the judge has questions, you know, maybe it's going to want to see some of this stuff that, you know, some of this mud that they're slinging at Lorne. He may want to see the evidence that they have. That would be great.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So then the very last part, it just says under Code 18 USC, a court may terminate a period of supervised release if, after the expiration of at least 1 year of supervision and after considering certain of the enumerated factors set forth in Section 3553A, it is satisfied that such action is warranted by the conduct of the defendant in the interest of justice. Based on the foregoing, USPO objects to granting him any termination. That's what it should say. Early termination of supervised release at this time. The government concurs with the position of the U.S. Probation Office. For all of these reasons, the defendant's motion for early termination of supervised release should be denied. So there we go. Yeah.
I agree.
I do agree too. So this was a good response, I think. I know that there are some people who are disappointed, and I know that I certainly would want to see more. We would want to have reams of paper, right? Boxes that are going to have all kinds of exhibits, his psych evaluation, his polygraph test and answers, all kinds of stuff. But I think overall, this was a solid response. Now, I will say that there is a baby elephant that's missing.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
That's all I care about, really. I mean, yes, I would love to have probation rip him apart and go into detail, all the embarrassing, hilarious details of Lorne's misdeeds over the years. Go into all the catfishing, all the times he's been fooled. I would love that. The psych eval. I just wanted them to address the baby issue.
Yeah.
That's what's most important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no mention of it. And the
No.
fact that there's no mention of it, and you can tell me what you think about this,
Mm-hmm.
please. The fact that there was no mention of it kind of makes me nervous
That it's true.
that it's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they would have had the perfect opportunity to shut it down when they were talking about him engaging with the people from the internet.
Right.
You know, they could have said, as a matter of fact, he's still talking to them and they've convinced him that he has a child.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I mean, if I could maybe shed a little hope on this situation, what I'm hoping is that either number one, they're not done sussing that out yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're still figuring that out. Um, and also when it comes to this response, you know, when it has to do with his probation, the existence of a child doesn't have anything to do with it.
Right, right. I understand that.
Yeah. So that could just be what they're responding to, but I do understand the point because I think myself included, a lot of people believe that this is a catfish.
Mm-hmm.
That there's something going on where you know, normally if you hear that someone has a child, you don't question, well, do they really though?
Yeah.
You know, because there's so many situations that have been unbelievable when it comes to Lorne and his girlfriends and relationships and circumstances that don't make sense. They physically don't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he's deep in there and he's just as involved as a catfish is. You know, he's going along with it, he's participating. So it's a valid argument to say that something's happening that would be beyond our comprehension, you know, that anybody would ever fall for it or anything like that. But Lorne cannot be dismissed like that. We have to consider that it's going to be something ridiculous. Don't underestimate the impossible.
That's true.
Okay, so when it comes to Lorne, that is the key thing that's always been at the top of my mind. Like, you know, probably going back a couple of years, because I used to think that too. When things would happen, and he would either see something online or he would get upset, and you know call the wrong number, or he called the right number but get the wrong voicemail type of a thing, where
Mm-hmm.
he would very accurately figure out that something was going on. I would think, okay, well, we're done here.
Mm-hmm.
I even thought that after the TSA call. I'm like, we're done here. This isn't going to continue. Who the hell is going to stick around for that?
Right.
Well, that question was answered by several years of more calls.
Mm-hmm.
So it got to the point where I had to think there is nothing impossible. There just isn't. He's going
Yeah.
to be there. He's going to be participating. It's going to take something, some kind of extenuating circumstance. Like you said with Jamie, they made him change his number. They made some things happen, you know. So I do think that when it comes to this baby, that there's a story behind it. And hopefully someday we find out what that is, you know, and then we'll say, oh, yeah, he got it again. So that's what I'm hoping too. I don't want there to be a baby either. And it's not for the sake of Lorne having sex. I couldn't give a shit.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I don't care at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see if that ever comes to light.
I mean, it makes sense that probation wouldn't mention it unless, well, I understand that it's not relevant. It has nothing to do with probation, except to say, you know, he's a sex offender, and if he has access to a child, then he needs supervision more than ever, of
Of
course.
course, yes, absolutely.
But they didn't even need to bring that up.
Hmm.
You know, they only brought up the necessary things, I guess. Yeah, like I said, it's just such a troubling thought. I really wanted it like shot down.
Yeah. Well, and it's also possible too by them saying until recently, until very recently, that that could be it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that is the end of it. I don't know. So sometime between when Lorne filed and when they responded,
Right.
maybe something
Yeah.
was found out. So,
Yeah.
but just like they hadn't included a lot of the details that
Mm-hmm.
definitely would fit in, maybe that's one of them too. And because his life circumstance of him putting it out there that he wants to be a family man now, so therefore he should be released off of term of probation so that he can do that. He wants to just move on with his life. That's how that reads to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that the court is going to care about. It's just like, if I committed a crime and I'm on lifetime probation and I went to the court and said, you know what, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to go back to school and get a degree.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to say, so what?
Right. Right.
I mean, that's great, but so what? You still have a punishment that you have to follow through with. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I really think, and this is me also being really hopeful, really hopeful that this entire story is just that. It's just a story that he's been fed, and he's not lying about it. I think that's the thing about Lorne when it comes to his catfish relationships. He's not lying to them when he
Right.
tells them that these things.
No.
So I think that he would believe that he is a father. I know it's really crazy. I know that that was the one thing that really made people's jaws drop was seeing that. You're like, what? I mean, the rest of it makes sense. You're like, oh yeah, of course Lauren's gonna try to get off of probation. Wait a second, baby, that can't be true. All right, so let's take a look at the footnote, um, because this does have some great insight in here as well. So the very first thing that it says is mere compliance with the terms of release does not qualify a defendant for such a remedy. Rather, because full compliance of the terms of supervised release is what is expected of a person under the magnifying glass of supervised release. Early termination is not warranted on the basis of compliance alone.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that. Of course, that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I never thought about that. So yeah, just doing what you're supposed to do, it alone doesn't qualify you for early termination, and that is what is expected of you.
Right, exactly. It reminds me of Chris Rock when he said, "You don't get credit for the things that you're supposed to do."
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like you don't get credit if you're supposed to be getting up every day and going to work and you do that.
Right. Right.
Like, okay. Well, I feed my dogs every day, right? Because you're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to feed your dogs every day, It's that whole thing. And whenever this topic is brought up to Lorne, he thinks that he does a good job. At least he says that.
Yeah.
And I think that if he were to really think about when things go badly with probation, it's always because of them.
Mm-hmm.
They what have the axe against his head or something?
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
He doesn't even do anything wrong,
Right.
and they just
Exactly.
want to punish him for nothing.
Mhm.
But yeah, absolutely. You don't get a medal because you didn't, I didn't commit any crimes this year. Okay.
Right.
You're not supposed to.
Right.
You don't get a
Exactly.
reward for that, for doing what's
No.
expected of you.
No.
So I'm glad that was pointed out.
Yeah, exactly. And according to us, he has 2 consecutive lifetime probation sentences that he has to
That's
work
right.
through.
That's right.
So knock it off with these motions already.
Well, it's saying perfect compliance isn't that alone isn't grounds for early termination, and he doesn't even have perfect compliance.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And the case that they reference, United States versus McKay, is a good one. And Mr. Shin's Koala brought that up as well in Andrew's stream. Um, but this guy did have what would be possibly considered perfect probation. He had a flawless record when he was incarcerated. Now, I don't know what he did. These are just based on.
I think Shin
Okay.
said it was a gun charge.
Oh, was it?
I I thought that's what he said.
Oh, okay. So certainly not in the realm of a sex offense.
Right. No.
So while he was in prison, he didn't get in trouble while he was there. Okay, you're not supposed to, right? He
Right.
complied with every request of U.S. probation. Okay, he was supposed to. Good. He has a variety of health problems, and they were using that as maybe a consideration that, he's not a danger to society or something. I don't know what those health problems are. The other one is that he's an active member in his community. He has been for years. He's an active member of organizations like the NAACP and the Masons. He took full responsibility of his crimes when he pled guilty. And we've said it before that taking responsibility is one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, when it comes to facing a parole board or something of this nature, where they are looking to be removed from probation. And then also, let's see, he's never used drugs and he doesn't abuse alcohol. He's a credit to his family and his community. It says that his rehabilitation is completed, whatever that happened to be. He's meeting his restitution obligation, so he's paying what he's supposed to. And it also says that termination would likely assist his efforts in his ability to spend time and care for his family. So those are the arguments that were presented on his behalf, and he lost that as well.
Yeah, they're pretty good arguments too. I mean,
Sure.
as far as it goes.
Yeah. So you can see, I mean, obviously, the judge does have leeway to grant early termination. They do.
Mm-hmm.
That's a part of the law. Lorne has the right to ask for it, just like this person did. But certainly, this person has a lot more to offer in the form of an argument versus just simply stating what the statute is, that he can be released early based on the whatever the judge says.
Mm-hmm.
And then just putting down here that he wants to move and be with the mother of his child.
Yeah, I bet you
nothing
do.
else in there. Yeah.
Right. I bet that is what you want. Too bad. You committed a terrible crime.
Yes.
So you don't get to do what you want.
Right. You already made a decision
Mm-hmm.
that had an impact for the rest of your life. So you have to live with that now.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way that it is. Yeah. So, I mean, they're, again, saying that just because you have a perfect record doesn't mean that you get to say, well, I'm okay now, so you can let me go.
Right.
And certainly someone named Lorne Lynn Armstrong, who has a horrific record at pretty much everything.
Yeah.
He has a bad employment record. He has a bad school record. He has a bad record of being a brother. He has a bad record of being a son and a nephew.
Wasn't he kicked out of the Air Force?
Well, he couldn't continue because he had failed, and he didn't go into something else. So he failed his test.
Failed.
Yeah.
He just failed the Air Force.
Right. Yes, he
Air
failed.
Air Force.
Yeah. He was 87 in his class. Number 87.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was bad at that. He was bad at getting a record deal in Nashville.
Mhm.
He was bad at doing his construction stuff on Betty's house and other projects that he had worked on and screwed people over. He's bad at probation. He's bad at fixing up his own home. He's bad at cooking burgers on the grill. We can go down the list.
He was even bad at molesting a kid.
Oh,
He couldn't even do that.
I got him.
I mean, we're glad, of course,
Of
that he was
course.
bad at that.
Yeah.
But
No, he did. He failed. He failed at everything. For someone who worked so hard at being successful at that specifically,
mhm.
he failed. He failed completely. You know, not only in talking to a decoy, but then also disregarding all of the red flags
Right.
that were there. And then also coming up with a really stupid story
Mhm.
for after he got caught. So
I guess
yeah,
that's what I should say. He failed at, um, being sneaky and keeping
he
his
sure did.
activities a secret. He really
Yeah,
failed.
yeah, he did. He really did fail. There's a ton we could have an
Of his
entire list
failures,
of
yeah.
his failures. Yeah.
He failed to sell his book and donate to Wounded Warrior Project.
Mm-hmm. He failed to finish The Creature.
He did, yes. He was writing a screenplay for Casey. He failed at that. He failed to finish it, and he just failed because he wrote it
Right.
like a chapter book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so many things.
There's so many things, I
His
know.
septic business, he
Oh,
failed.
yeah.
His web store.
He failed at not getting scammed.
I was just about to say he failed the mayor of Italy. He failed
Mm-hmm.
him or her
Whomever. It
because
could be
he never
anybody.
sent that check back.
Yeah.
He couldn't even do that. They sent him a check and said, "Lauren, you keep this much and send this much on." He couldn't even do that.
And he's really bad with his finances as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really bad. Considering that he had a lifetime or a life changing amount of money come to him through COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And to have it be completely squandered is so crazy to me. But of course, that's
And
what's going to happen, you know?
he doesn't have to pay rent. He doesn't have to pay a
No.
mortgage. He
Mm-mm.
owns his land. All he
Yeah.
has to do is pay the damn taxes and his
Mm-hmm.
utilities, and he can't even do that.
He can't even do that. No. So many things. So many things. He's a failed chicken farmer for eggs.
You think he's failing at his pallet business?
Oh, I don't know.
Did
That's
you
hard to say. I don't
did you
know.
see the recent pictures of the trailer? He's got big stacks of
Big
pallets.
stacks of pallets, yeah.
Hmm.
And it said pallet recycling. I wonder what exactly that entails because they don't look new, certainly, you know. So
No, I'm sure they're not. Businesses, like I know the place I work, there are pallets out by the dumpster all the time. They get brought in
uh-huh.
to do deliveries for businesses, and then the business throws them away.
Yeah.
And then Lorne goes around collecting the dumpster pallets.
Mm-hmm.
How he recycles them, I'm not sure.
Maybe he just sells them cheaper.
Resells them,
Yeah.
I guess, but I'm sure they're very inexpensive to begin with. They're thrown out like trash.
True. And they're also outside.
Hmm. Right, and they're wood, which
Yeah.
rots.
Right.
It rots. It gets full of, wood boring insects. It's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can't leave untreated. And I'm sure it's super cheap. It's cheap, thin wood. Like you can't
Yeah.
leave that outside in the
No.
mud.
No. No, not it's certainly not in the elements and everything. They're gonna get all ruined.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting endeavor.
He's a dump man. He's a trash man.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the best way to sum it. I wonder whatever happened to the Beanie Babies.
Oh, well, the Beanie Babies, I bet they're still in the trash bags and tote boxes all around Lorne's property.
Do you think they're in the shipping container slash house?
Maybe they're in one of the sheds.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's man. He was so proud of those too.
I know, they were going to make him a fortune.
Well, they could have. I mean,
I think he's probably holding on to them because they will be worth money someday.
I
And
wouldn't
all
doubt
the
it.
shit he bought at the auctions with the COVID money, all the jewelry, like garbage, cheap jewelry he bought
Yeah.
for his garbage business. That's what he does. He collects things from the dump and from houses that are condemned and
Mm-hmm.
things at auction that other people don't want.
Right.
And then has a yard sale and sells them for, 10 cents.
Well, he hasn't been having a yard sale the last couple of years.
It's true.
So I wonder what's happening to all that stuff.
I know. Isn't it so crazy how he put up those tarps in front of his trailer for the yard sale
Yeah.
to try to hide it from the harassers? I mean, that's the only reason I can imagine he put those up like that.
Well, there was nothing in back of them.
Just the trailer.
Yeah, it was just the trailer. It's just his property. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know all of that. And didn't they just fall down
Yes.
as well? So, yeah, I know it is crazy. But yet, if he gets a letter, he's going to call him up. So it just makes me think about what they were saying about him just recently stopping to engage with these people. I'm so curious what that means.
Right.
And I'm so curious, considering that he fights against anybody who's telling him, this isn't real, you shouldn't be doing this. That he just is going to go do it anyway.
I really want to know about, I mean, the mother of the child, obviously. I want to know where that came from, but I really want to know about this new life he's trying to live, because I think it's all connected with he wanted to travel to Canada. He tried to sell his trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all connected.
I agree. Yeah, I think it is all connected too. Definitely.
Well, come on, probation. Give us more.
Yeah, exactly. Just
This
let us have access just for like 2 hours in
just
your
a
office.
little while. Yeah. Because this just didn't answer the questions that I have. I don't think he'll get off probation. I don't think the judge is going to accept it.
Agreed.
And I'm not, honestly, I'm not super concerned anyway, even if he did get off probation. I mean, obviously we want him on probation. He needs to be supervised. He sucks, and who knows what he'll do. But I think it would just be a matter of time before he got in trouble again. And if he was off probation, I said this when we first read the motion. If he got off probation, first thing he would do is come back to YouTube.
You're absolutely right.
And I would really like to be around for that. I would really like to have him comment on our videos.
Oh
He would.
my God. Could you imagine that?
I could. It would almost make it worth it, him getting off probation.
Just for like a day.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
But it's those little tidbits that were in the motion that I want to know the truth about so bad.
I know. I do too. So maybe there will be a hearing. I don't know. So basically at this point, Lorne has until I believe the 16th of this month or the 18th.
I think I heard 18th.
Okay.
I don't know either way, but
right.
Yeah.
To respond. So he has the opportunity to submit a rebuttal.
Okay.
So we'll have to see what that says.
I mean, and he will, right? I mean, like, he doesn't have to. He could just throw his hands up in the air and say, okay. But he will submit a
He will
rebuttal, you
submit
think,
a
right?
rebuttal. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going to. I think that he will pick apart anything that he possibly can. So like when they were talking about him signing things and
Mm-hmm.
auctioning things, that was a long time ago. Um, I think that he will pick things apart, like him being in sex offender treatment and failing, and he'll say, "Well, I completed the book multiple
Yeah.
times." So I think he'll do stuff like that because that's Lorne. He's
Mm-hmm.
going to try to find some type of a loophole. It's just like when he was suing NBC and he's looking for little things that he can throw in there. Like, they almost hit his nose with the camera and
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't have been there on a ride along and stuff like that. So it's those types of things that he'll just try to grab, and hopefully it's going to be enough to sway a judge.
Like Maria lied 9 times on the stand.
Exactly. What were those? List them.
Mm-hmm.
List them.
Lawrence never lied either. So
Lorne has never lied. No.
Maria lied. Lauren hasn't lied. And even if, okay, fine, Lauren lied. Fine. But he's not a probation officer. Okay?
Mm.
Probation probation officers should be held to a higher standard. Of course he's gonna lie. He's a criminal, but not probation. I feel like that would be a Lauren argument.
I had asked as well, what's going to happen next?
Mm-hmm.
So we already know Lauren's not going to get off probation.
Right.
Is he going to give up? No, he's not going to. So I was really curious. What is his next plan? What type of an action would be available to him? Can he go to the three judges
Mm-hmm.
and ask? And so I asked Shin,
Mm-hmm.
and then I also got some info from Clay, who's our new lawyer friend.
Oh, hi, Clay.
For some insight, like when something like this happens, what can Lorne do?
Mm-hmm.
And basically the issue that Lorne is going to have is that he's not going to be able to appeal it because he doesn't have the money.
Right. He would have to pay for it.
Yes.
So he
So,
could appeal it,
yeah,
but the court is not going to let him use a court appointed attorney, right?
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So he would have to get his own attorney, and they said attorneys that work on appeal, it's going to be so expensive. He just won't
Mm-hmm.
be able to do it. So he could also ask for the judge to reconsider, which he's not going to. The judge is just going to come back and be like, "I said what I said."
Yeah, it's Judge Woodcock. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's not
exactly.
gonna budge.
He's not going to budge.
He
He's
already knows.
right. He's not going to be like, "You know what? You're right. I've been thinking about it since I handed down that ruling, and I was really unsure at that
Mm-hmm.
time. So I'm really glad that you brought it to my attention because now I can have the chance to reconsider, and I do reconsider. Go off and be free."
So Lorne responds to probation or responds to probation's arguments here,
Hmm.
and then the judge makes his decision.
Yes. So I
Okay.
believe it's either going to be a hearing or he's just going to do a
Or
ruling.
the judge is just gonna do it.
Yeah,
Just gonna be
he's going
like,
to
yeah,
make
this
an
is my
order.
ruling.
Hmm.
Well, I hope it's a hearing then.
I do too. I do too. I hope that it's a hearing because then we can get the transcript.
Yes.
I love
Or
a
we can
transcript.
be at the hearing. Shin, I think, is pretty adamant that he could be there.
Yeah.
You know, he
I
said, he said, um, if there's a hearing, he wants to go and he wants me to dress like a reporter and have like a fake microphone. And while Lauren's leaving, stop and be like, Lauren, my name is Karen from Channel 8 News. What do you have to say on the ruling? And like see if I can get an interview.
Oh, would you be able to do that?
I don't know. I don't know. Why not? You
Well,
can't talk to
you know
him? I
what?
mean,
You know what? I double dog dare you.
I'll do it.
Okay. Yeah, everyone's hearing you say this.
I'll do it. I don't have a microphone like that. I'll have to bring like a wooden spoon or something and
No,
hope
you
Lauren
can
doesn't.
get one. Are you kidding me? You're going to bring a wooden spoon.
I'm not gonna buy a microphone just
We
for
will buy it
that.
for you.
Okay,
If
you
this
guys
is
buy
going to
me a
happen, yes.
microphone
Yes.
and I'll do it.
All right. So you know what? You can't back down.
I would never back down.
I don't want to hear you call in that morning and be like, you know what?
I'm
I
really
have
sick.
I have a cold. Oh my God, I can't talk. Yeah, you're gonna trot your ass right up to Lorne and you're gonna ask him questions. What would you ask him? Like what he thought? What was you
Yeah,
thinking?
yeah, yeah. That's exactly what I think. What was you thinking when the judge handed down his ruling? It's fucking bullshit, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'd ask him how do you feel about the judge's decision? Do you think it's unfair? I mean, obviously, yes. But then I would ask him to provide proof of the baby.
Oh yeah, excellent, excellent, excellent.
I tell him I'm from TMZ or something, the tabloids.
TMZ.
Like I know we heard about your relationship with actress Casey Moreau. Who's the lucky lady you're dating now?
Right. Is that her baby? Did you have a love child with Casey,
Yeah.
Lauren?
Well, he thinks the paparazzi follows him, so we might as well
That is
indulge that
true.
delusion.
Oh, that would be really funny. But you know what would be funny too
Hmm.
is there's going to be people who will go to the hearing. We already
Mm-hmm.
know that. And when it comes time when they start talking about the internet and what's been going on with the internet,
Mm-hmm.
and all of you just like slide down in your seats and hope that Judge Woodcock doesn't look you in the eye.
Or we're all like, woo!
Right. Yes, he takes his gavel. Order.
Church of God! Woo!
That's me. I was the one. Yep. I'm one
Yeah.
of those people. Yeah. That would be really interesting though.
Well, now I hope there's a hearing.
We all hope that there is one. If nothing else, for you to get a microphone and march up there to Lorne because you have to do it. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
I'll do it. I think he'll talk to me.
He will absolutely talk to you. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I think he would.
Are you going to introduce yourself as Amanda James?
What if I said it really fast? Like, Lauren, just a couple questions, please. I'm Amanda James with Channel 8 News.
You-
And he'd be like, what? Amanda fucking who?
You mean Leslie Miller?
Yeah. I wonder if he'd catch on. I mean, because Amanda James is not a super, Amanda is a very common name.
It
James
is.
is a very common name.
Yeah.
Maybe just be a coincidence.
Okay. Well, very good.
I'll have to think of my news anchor name. I'll have to think about it.
Okay.
Maybe something close, like Jamie Amanda, maybe, or Jamie Amy.
Jamie Amy. Jamie Amy James. Oh my God.
Good one.
Yeah. It would be really funny to say something that he clearly would have to recognize and see what would happen. What would the response be?
I know. I'll have to think about it.
Well,
But
I
I'm gonna
can't
say one.
wait. I can't wait for that footage.
Well, me too. Now I'm excited.
Well, good. I hope all your dreams come true. So now we're going to wait until that next response comes in. Until then, we will be continuing to cover his other documents because there's so many.
Mm-hmm.
This journey that Lorne has been on is hilarious.
It is denied at every turn. For
Every
everything.
single turn. Yeah, I know. I know.
He hired the lawyer with his own money to try to get out of the sex offender treatment class. That didn't work. Now he's fighting to get off probation. I highly doubt that's going to work. It certainly appears that it's not going to work. He tried to sue NBC for $80 million. That didn't work.
No, it didn't. Not even a little bit.
Right.
So I think next time we're going to go over his pre-sentence report.
Oh, okay. I think we talked about that a long time ago, didn't we?
We did, yes.
Okay.
Why
Yeah.
not do it again?
It'll be good to go over it again.
I think it will, yeah, because then, we're kind of all over the place because things are happening that weren't expected. But we're going to try to follow the course, like from the beginning, And so the next part where we had left off with him was that he was presented with the plea agreement and he signed it.
Right.
So then, given that, then the judge has to decide, okay, what's his sentence going to be? And that's when they ordered the pre-sentencing report. So after that, then is going to be his hearing where they go through the sentence. So I think it'll be interesting. Yeah, because there's going to be things that we don't remember in there. Why not?
Yeah, I can't remember it right now. So
yeah. Perfect. Excellent. Okay, well, very good. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Thank you again, Amanda James, for all of your insight and also the promise that you're going to interview Lorne at his next hearing. We look forward to that.
You're welcome.
Okay, well then, until then, take care.